there guys, it's Misty here from TheJollyFatElf. Welcome to day 26 in my holiday card series. Today I'm using the Christmas sweater stamp set. This stamp set is retiring, so if you want it, make sure you pick it up. I'm using the 3 top sweaters along with that large sweater with the snowflake and the sentiment. Here I have a piece of Bermuda Bay. This measured 4 1/4 by 11. I scored it at 5 1/2. I added a piece of the Foil Frenzy Designer Series paper on the front. That measures 4 by 5 1/4 along with the Whisper White layer on the inside with the same measurements. So I've mounted all 3 sweaters on an acrylic block and I'm inking them up with Memento Tuxedo Black ink because I will be coloring these sweaters with a stamping blend today. I'll be using Smoky Slate for the sweaters because I want them to kind of fade in the background. And then for my main sweater, I am going to color using Melon Mambo, my Stampin' Right marker, and then the Bermuda Bay and Bronze blends. And all of this will be in the coordinating blog post that you can find down below, which will also have the recipe that will have the measurements. So I'm just printing these. I'm just stamping these twice. And then I'm going to stamp that other sweater on a scrap piece of Whisper White. Then I'm going to turn on some music and let you guys watch me color. Really quick, simple coloring. I'm going to color with the gray, use a color lifter to lighten it up, and then color the sweater. So now that I have that colored, I'm going to go ahead and cut out the sweater using my paper snips, and then I'm going to use my basic black Stampin' Right marker to go along the outside. Then I'm going to bring in this piece of Bermuda Bay that measures 3/4 of an inch by 4 1/2 or 4 1/4, and then I end up cutting it down. But I want to emboss the sentiment, so I'm going to bring in my embossing buddy and I'm going to stamp the sentiment using the Versamark ink. So for this, I wanted to bring in a little bit more black, so I'm using the Zing Black Glitter Embossing Powder. I normally don't like to emboss with black, but I really love this embossing powder, but it gets everywhere. It doesn't help that I'm also, you know, normally messy, but it really does get everywhere. So I'm going to stamp this somewhat in the center, and then I'm going to add my embossing powder. I just keep them in these little containers I got at the Dollar Tree, and then I use my little spoon. The ones that I use more often are in the blue containers, but for the ones that are just something that I use every once in a while, they're in these. So I'm going to heat this with my heat tool, and then we're going to start assembling our card layer. I really love how it turned out. It's kind of hard to see the sparkle, but you can really see it in real life. So I'm going to bring in some sequins from my stash. These are from back when I used to make ornaments, and they perfectly match this paper. Like, I couldn't have picked a better sequin to match. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere my little focal panel down with snail. Again, I'll have the measurements for these two panels over on the coordinating blog post. And then I'm going to adhere this down using Stampin' Dimensionals, and I use a lot because I don't like it to go anywhere. I have been using snail, and that's because I thought I was out of liquid glue, but I finally found it. So I will be going back to liquid glue. So I'm just going to peel off the backers and then get this adhere using the stripes to help line it up. And then I want to add that to the center, and I'm going to add that with dimensionals. I'm using some of the mini dimensionals for the arms and then the larger dimensionals for the rest of the sweater. And once I get this adhered, then I'm going to go ahead and adhere the sentiment. And here you can see that it's a little too long, so I'm going to cut it down to 4 inches. So I guess it was closer to 4.5. It was just a scrap, and yesterday's video showed you guys that big pile. I'm working my way through it. So I'm going to adhere this at the bottom, and then I'm going to add some of the sequins. I really love how this card turned out. Initially, you guys can see I missed a stripe, which, but initially I was going to leave it pink and white, but then I wanted to bring in some of that craft, and you guys saw me check out Crumb Cake. I actually think the bronze is a better color match. So I'm going to adhere these sequins with some glue dots. You could also use liquid glue, but again, at the time I couldn't find it. So there you go. I'm going to add, I think I end up adding 5 or 7. I don't remember. Probably 5. I like to do odd numbers. So, and this was so much easier than trying to fiddle with liquid glue, because you guys know it can be messy. Messy. So once I get that adhered, that is it. I really hope you guys love this stamp set as much as I do and enjoyed this card. Make sure that you check out my D-Stash, reserve your Stamparatus, and leave me a comment down below letting me know what you thought of this card. Thank you so much for joining me. Let me know if you have questions, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Bye for now.